those lyrics lead us naturally to think about Paul as a person who advocated for peace in so many ways. He was proud of his service during the Second World War, but he was a lifelong member of the VFW, but he also was a very, very animated member of Veterans for Peace. Maybe some of you know that organization that continues to advocate for a world without war. And Paul was an enthusiastic supporter of the United Nations. I remember a time when you couldn't see Paul without him asking, "Don't you want a United Nations flag? I've got an extra one in the car. Would you put it up somewhere?" You remember that?
Usually it was, "Don't you want a donut?"
And Paul was a reliable ally when it came to struggling for a world without war, a world that is filled with the energy of peace. And Laura's going to help us get into that energy a little bit as we sing a chorus or a verse of "Let there be peace on earth." I think you'll find those words also in your bulletins. But if not, yes, on the bottom right side.
And would you all stand if you are able for this?
Peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as the Father, brothers all are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be a moment now. Let every step I take, let this be my solemn vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
What a wonderful day of music this is. We are all getting a chance to exercise our music and our vocal cords. And we heard Bill sing beautifully earlier. We're going to hear from him later again. Right now, I'd like to ask the other Gere brother, Jerry, to come forward to tell us a little bit about some of the range of Paul's many talents, things that some of us didn't even know about, and also to remember a toast that was made to Paul about 10 years ago. Am I right? Or a little more than that.
Jerry, come on up.
Yeah. Hello. Over the last, 2 months. Yeah, over the last couple of months, we've gotten a lot of wonderful letters, comments, and writings that people have sent to us and we've read. And we would love to read some more of them today, but I think that just due to my lack of attention in getting things organized, we're going to have to settle for a short version. So, I sat down a little late this morning and started thinking about what had happened in our family and with my dad in the last 67 years. When I was 1 or 2 years old, the south side of Binghamton, Dad worked for Nationwide Insurance. And he would come home in his business suit and his fedora. And then we'd go to a farm nearby, get some fresh milk, and come home and make ice cream. Which seemed like a good idea to me. And a little later, probably around 1960, we were in Mount Vision where Dad was in his first church. And I remember, of course, I was 4, 5, 6 years old, him leading youth groups, making or maybe just being involved in spaghetti dinners, and of course, making ice cream. We got to Syracuse in about 1962, and Dad, of course, was leading youth groups there. And one of the things I remember was making shish kebab, which is kind of a speedy with vegetables. And he had learned about this from his friends in the Middle East when they traveled there. And in fact, I think one of the friends was with him and provided the recipe. And of course, we also found time to make ice cream in Syracuse. And in the mid-60s, we were in Bernards Bay, New York, on the north shore of Oneida Lake. And that parsonage was a new, at the time, contemporary structure, had 2 fireplaces. Dad was really happy about the 2 fireplaces. We loved building fires and just sitting and watching them. And we also got our first chance to make maple syrup there. So probably 55 years ago, in that neighborhood. And of course, we would find time to make ice cream. In 1967, we were in Fulton, New York, which was on the New York State Barge Canal. And we could go to the soda fountain downtown to get ice cream. Made it too easy. By 68, 69, we were in Endwell. A couple of people might remember us in Endwell. Dad was, of course, leading youth groups there. And one of the interesting things I thought was interesting, he brought in some guys that were members of a local motorcycle club. And they were rough and tough motorcycle guys with their leathers and all that stuff and their colors, and describing how the best way to have a motorcycle was to steal it and so on and so forth. And this caused a lot of consternation with some of the parents. And I guess they were well founded because I've been obsessed with motorcycles for my whole life. So I don't know what happens. In Endwell, though, we were fortunate because we could go over to Pat Mitchell's in Endicott and get our ice cream. 70, 71, we were in Great Bend, Pennsylvania, getting closer to home all the time. And there, we were able to make maple syrup in the driveway at the Methodist parsonage. They probably never forgot about it. And of course, we did find time to make to make ice cream there as well. By the mid-70s and late 70s, my folks and for a while I were in the Scranton and Wilkes-Barre area, and this time Dad found himself a motorcycle, and that reminded him about his first motorcycle, which was I think he said a 1926 Harley Davidson. And Dad was not one to blame or accuse anyone of anything, but there was a discussion that when he went away to the service, he left this motorcycle in the care of possibly his little brother. And that when he came back, that motorcycle was apparently in 6 bushel baskets and never to see the road again. Of course, down there in the valley, you can get ice cream just about any street corner. So we're in good shape. So from about 1978 until this last May, Dad and most of our family have been right here near South Montrose. And I remember one of the older folks in the neighborhood when we moved back this way said, you know, the old line, chickens always come home to roost. Sure enough, we did too. And Dad had, even though he was fully employed in Scranton for most of this time as a prison chaplain, he did find time to do some stuff here around the farm. Stuff like hanging out at the pond, studying the beavers and the grandchildren eventually, cleaning ditches, cutting firewood, planting and tending any kind of plant or tree that caught his eye. Strawberries, hollyhocks, blackberries, apples, blueberries. There are a few of them. And if anybody's been to the family place in South Montrose, everything that's growing there was planted by Dad. It was a field when they got there, and now it's a forest. So. The greatest crop, I think, that he produced and nurtured would have been his family and friends that he was always working with, always comfortable with, and instructing us all in the production and enjoyment of candles, hundreds of gallons of maple syrup, and ice cream. So, all these years that when Dad was not making and eating ice cream, and as has been said more than once here, Dad was constant supporter of, well, really constant supporter of everybody. But especially, he was, early on, he became an advocate for civil rights back in the 50s. And for Native Americans, shortly after that, incarcerated people through his whole life, he was an advocate for and a helper of, and always advocated for social justice and peace here and in the world. And 2 things that he taught me, I think, were don't keep score and make more ice cream.
And the world is good. And Bill is going to sing about that.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, and clouds of white, the bright, blessed day, the dark, sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, too pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Bill, thank you so much. Mary, are you feeling like you want to come up and share a few memories?